Welcome back to Green Living with Tea, the place for clean living, toxin awareness, and actionable strategies to live well and age well. And I'm your host, Therese T. Fortin Barnes. And today we are diving into a crucial topic that affects your energy, immunity, overall wellness for that matter. And it's our blood flow. I don't talk about blood flow a lot, or you don't hear about it a lot, but I thought it was really important that we chat about this today. And we know you need to reduce chemical exposure to stay healthy. I talk about that a lot. But did you know your body has an internal cleansing system that entirely relies on healthy circulation to flush out toxins? So we are going to unpack this with Dr. Luke Bucci, Chief Scientific Officer at Juvenon, and he brings nearly 4 decades of groundbreaking experience and a passion for uncovering the why and how behind optimal health and extended vitality. And he isn't just a scientist, he's a proven industry builder. Dr. Luke, welcome to Green Living with Tea.
Wow, T, thank you for that intro. And I'm very excited and happy to be here and hope everybody learns something that's going to help them out.
Yes, the intro was short. Your bio is extremely long. I encourage everybody to read it. It will be in the show notes. It's a lot, and it shows his credentials and this topic that we're talking about today. So, just for everybody's knowledge here, tell them your background and how you got into this and your path you
Oh
took.
boy. Okay, I'll make sure it's not 5 hours, but
I
but
know the bio showed it, so.
it's real simple. I was just the kid that kept asking why, and my dad was a pathologist, so he did a lot of autopsies, which is what you do when somebody dies, and you try to find out why they die by taking them apart, literally.
Wow.
And I learned. I was a little bitty kid, and you get over all the that stuff pretty quick. And then you start asking questions like, okay, so we had one guy that was very obese, and my dad said he died of a heart attack. So the doctors want to confirm it. It's all about the insurance and stuff.
Of course.
So he had to cut him open. This might be gory, but like stay with me
It's okay.
because this is why I keep saying why. So, okay, so they open him up and take the heart out. And when he's opening him up, he had big layers of fat under his skin. So I got, oh, Daddy, how did he get so fat? He ate like a pig. My dad was telling it like it is. And then you get to the heart and he says, see how big the heart is? It's like, yeah, that's really big. It says it should be half that size because poor heart was starved of blood had low blood flows. It was trying to beat, and it was killing itself trying to beat. So it has, so the body's saying more blood, more blood. And it goes, I can't beat harder, so let's just get bigger and maybe that'll. No, it didn't help. So we finally take the coronary artery, and he starts cutting it to see where that little blockage is that caused that myocardial infarct or MI. And he took a scalpel and he cut the end of it, and it broke the scalpel.
Oh my
So
gosh.
he said, huh, another scalpel broke it again. He goes, oh, this thing is calcified. So he had that's why he called hardening of the arteries. His
Hardening.
artery had rock around it. And of course, that means it can't be flexible and bend and move blood around as well. And then sure enough, a little bit later, he had to get a big knife out to cut through that little artery. And that one little clot right there in the middle of the artery is what killed him. That really came home to me. So I've forever been not liking to eat fat. So that's one way to take care of your body weight is don't eat fat. But that's kind of overboard. So I obviously have figured it out.
But
And
it's interesting. I
but
love the
that's it.
history. That's your history. That's where you came from. That's the road
Oh
path you
gosh.
went on. I mean, I have, separate, we all have our own stories, but I love that you were a kid and you were so curious, and it probably just made you even more curious, I would guess.
Oh yeah, I could go on forever, but it make people run away screaming. But what that tells you is that my dad said, body never forgets an insult. Your body never forgets an insult. So it's like, oh, okay. So that means don't do anything stupid or wrong, or if you do, try to make up for it. So you learn these little things, and seeing is believing. So when you actually see something, because they don't even do autopsies anymore, hardly, except for forensics. Wow, you just go, okay, I get it. So that really pushed my career into science, of course. And I said, I want to be a doctor like you, Daddy. He goes, no, you don't. The AMAs, we're just doing what the AMA tells us to do. We can't really practice medicine. And so I said, what am I going to do? He says, well, who do you think tells the doctors what to do? The MDs what to do? And he goes, I don't know. He said, PhDs. Oh, okay, I'll get a PhD. And it's been a lot of fun because I keep asking why, and that's my job to find out why. And it just went into nutrition because we all have to eat. I saw how big of an impact it can make on your whole life. And like all of us, I wanted to live longer and happier and healthier. And so far, so good, because nutrition is, I think, the one thing we can control, and you can't control your exposure to things,
Right.
but your nutrition does make a big difference in keeping you healthy. And that's kind of where I bumped around all through the nutrition industry, mostly supplement companies, because I realized supplements need help. They can do lots of good things, but there's a lot of mess. Nobody really knows what's going on. They're pooped on by AMA and big medicine, but that's what our body uses. So if you do it right, hey, you're happier and healthier. So that's what I'm trying to do here is kind of get everybody to understand that their body is trying to keep you alive. And I think that, and I've learned that from all this nutritional things, I've helped joints, I've helped cardiovascular, I've helped brain, I've helped everything. But at Juvenon, they have a blood flow product. And I'm not trying to be an ad, but I got there and thought, why is this their leading seller? Why are they pushing blood flow? So I just dabbled in it, and it's like boink, oh, it hit me in the head.
I
we
love
take
that.
we just take another aha. So I asked why, and it got boom. Okay, blood flow is just kind of ignored. It's very ignored until it stops, and
Yeah.
then you die, like that gentleman that I saw as a kid. So obviously, it's going on all the time, and it's going on everywhere, and we don't really pay any attention to it because the nature's given us a elegant, beautiful way to control blood flow anywhere, anytime, as best as it can. It's just a very how do I say this? It's very elegant, and we just take it for granted.
Hmm.
So that told me that blood flow is life. So I thought, okay, well, now how do I tell people? Because we all have, what does it mean? Okay, um, your blood flow is controlled, your heart pumps, and it can pump more or less depending upon what your brain tells it to do. So the nervous system and your brain have a big part in this. It tells your uh, blood vessels and your heart and your muscles what to do about getting more or less blood. And it does it all by itself. It's kind of one of those things that you don't worry about or think about. And I think that's why it's kind of the missing link in health. And I'll tell you exactly why. And there's things you can do, ways you can help yourself have good blood flow. So that's the happy part.
I love all that. Can I just ask you one? You mentioned one thing about the AMA, which is the American Medical Association, I presume,
Yes.
that uh, are they more focused on pharmaceutical drugs to do something about the illness as opposed to preventing it, or where supplements can come in and help supplement your health and find the root cause of an issue, where the supplements can potentially be uh, beneficial as opposed to, I just didn't know because I know doctors are trained pretty much to give pharmaceutical drugs, not to prevent um, an illness or to find the root cause of an illness. That's how they're trained. That's what the whole medical field is surrounded by, is pharmaceutical drugs. And that's what I've been told over and over and over. And I just wanted to kind of grasp on that because I wonder what
Mhm.
you thought about that.
Well, that's why I got into supplements
Mm,
because it's something you can do yourself. It's what your body is trying to do naturally. In other words, supplements are supposed to be uh, parts of foods. They're nutrients.
right.
There's all kinds of nutrients when you get into plant foods and thus herbs, etc. But everything we eat is really like taking a supplement if you want, or supplement is like
True.
eating,
Right.
and it's regulated that way. Supplements are now a subset of food, which happened in 1994. So because the AMA was trying to ban supplements because they're dangerous.
Mm.
If you
I
remember that
wonder who
old
was
Mel
behind
Gibson.
that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I actually feel sorry for a lot of medical doctors. They do fantastic
Yeah,
work. I mean, things like surgery and all kinds of procedures,
definitely.
you got to do it, and they're excellent. And I would I would not hesitate to don't hesitate to see my medical doctors, and they do good things. But the pharmacy, uh, what do I call it? Cartel is
Mm.
taking over the world.
Yeah.
They make obscene profits. They have hired a lot of scientists to do research to find patentable ways. This is all quirk of our patent system. So it's not like they're
Hmm.
evil people, but it's saying, hey,
Right.
if we can patent this, then we get all the money from it. We can charge whatever we want. Now, how many ads do you see on TV that are not pharmaceutical drugs? And they're for
Yeah.
weird, I mean, not weird, but they're for rare illnesses. Like, about one person out of 500,000 has that, and they're blasting it every day over and over again. There's probably three people that actually could use that drug. In other words,
Right.
it's out of I think it's just out of control. Now, if I get assassinated in the next few days, you know why.
Oh,
But
no, 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 no. We can't have that. We need you. There's so many people like you, thankfully, that have helping to open up people's eyes to different routes you can take when it comes to preventing or helping heal from an illness or disease or whatnot. And I think that's the most important thing here is that a supplement's okay. It's just you have to find that right supplement. That's hard to do, and a lot are coming from overseas or wherever they're coming from, and they're filled with
yeah,
junk. But, and I want to talk about that in a little bit. I want to talk about the blood flow, which is so
yeah.
important
Mm.
to our overall health. And I know there's probably supplements that can help with that too. People might not even know that they have an issue with their blood flow, but yet they're sluggish or their metabolism is kind of not working properly. Um, what do you, what can you say to somebody that's questioning that?
Well, I gave up taking a multivitamin mineral and focused more on my blood flow and longevity because I just if you eat a pretty good diet, you get just about everything you need. But I do want to say real quick, and everybody needs to remember this: if you do any supplementation at all, or if you don't, you need to do what I call the big three, and that gives you the most bang for your buck because you can spend lots of money if you're not careful. So vitamin D3, omega 3s, and magnesium.
Mm,
If you
okay.
just do those three things, and omega 3s, I prefer krill oil, the red stuff. It's a long story, but it does what omega 3s are supposed to do without all the problems that omega 3s can have if you take too much. And magnesium is our biggest missing mineral. I mean, if you have bone issues, bone loss issues, magnesium is more important than calcium. You need both, but too much calcium will knock down magnesium and you get very little benefit. Magnesium added, boom, your bones are happy and healthier and stronger. So those are the big three. Then you can lump on anything you want to take care of other issues, and that's very personal. And that's where nutritionists come into play and a lot of other holistic kind of medical professionals. So that's the start. But blood flow. So that at getting at Juvenon, as I said, they had a blood flow product, and it's their most successful product. So I thought, okay, why? Well, obviously blood flow is important. Okay, how important? Why is it important? So I asked why, and I got just hit
Why?
over the head with why. And really, it's all about the nitric oxide, which I'll get into in a sec.
Hmm.
But blood flow, blood flow. What happens when you don't have blood flow? You're dead. It's like a heart attack, like that gentleman.
Yep.
You die. So okay, that's extreme. We're not gonna. That doesn't happen every day to everyone. So, but I did not realize how bad your blood flow gets when you age, healthy or not. If you're healthy, you're really getting half of your blood flow at 40 to 50, and that's if you're healthy. And by the time you're 70, like I am, you're down to around one third of your blood flow capacity. So in other words, your blood flow is just slowly draining away or going away. It's not what it used to be. That's why you can't go out and run circles around your house when you're 70 or 80 like you could when you were 15 or 20. And that's if you're healthy. That's if you're not obese. That's if you exercise and eat right. Okay, that's the best it gets. Wow. Okay, I'll take it. It's better than zero. But if you're not healthy, oh, that's a different curve. And the blood flow goes down. It's about half when you're 30, and it goes down steeply until when you're 70, it's around 10%.
Wow.
Means you're moribund. You'd shuffle around. Your brain is dopey. You just don't have any get up and go because it got up and went, literally. And when you're a scientist, you do survival curves and things that have a lot of experience in that. So it will tell you what's going on. So you can predict and say things like this. So the problem with the curve of unhealthy people is that it flattens out at that 10% level at about age 60, 65. And then it just stays that way until there's no people left because we all have to go. And what that says is that means that a lot of those people are dead. They didn't even make it to the end of the curve because it flattened out. Those are the only survivors. So so if you go below 10% of your blood flow capacity, that's death. Now, I want to make this kind of bring this home with a little analogy or example to make you understand better how important blood flow is. And I like to use the analogy of a city and the traffic in a city. And your blood flow is your arteries, like streets, avenues, roads. In fact, we still call them arteries sometimes. Haha, there's a good analogy. So in other words, your blood flow is like traffic. When you are doing more, you have more traffic, and you have to move all the vehicles faster all around. And if we're kind of looking at this like a city, that we're a city, and the traffic is our blood flow. So obviously, you want to keep the traffic moving. So we have traffic lights, which tells the blood flow to go or not go or wait for this. It prioritizes. And that's exactly what this nitric oxide gas does from our brain and nervous system. So if our brain says, hey, we're going to exercise, we want blood to our biceps because we're doing bicep curls, then guess where the blood flow goes? All those are green lights. Boom. Blood flow to the biceps so you can do bicep curls. Or if you're running, to your lungs, your heart, and your legs, et cetera, et cetera.
Nope.
So it's very precise system, very it's just very adaptive. I mean, if you need a little blood flow here and not there, that's what you get. But that's what goes downhill with aging, that nitric oxide that your blood vessels produce to open up your arteries to get blood flow in. That goes down. That's what I was saying is going downhill. That's
Hmm.
what you lose half of if you're healthy when you're 60 something. And it just goes away because of all the slings and arrows of aging. So, um, I hope that kind of lets
It
you know
does.
that's how important. So in other words, if you want to drive around town and you want to get where you're going and have all green lights, then you need nitric oxide because nitric oxide is like, okay, uh, light turn on, poof, green. Okay, I'm going, and you just keep going, and everybody else has to stop. That's making nitric oxide.
What
So,
is nitric oxide and does it come in a capsule? I mean, we know what vitamin D is, those are easy,
mhm,
but
mhm.
nitric oxide, somebody's listening, like, what is it?
Yeah, that's the real fun part that I'm trying not to lose people on. But it's so super important. It's so simple. Well, we all know that we breathe oxygen, right? And that's what we
Hmm.
burn up for energy. And of course, you need blood flow to get everything lined up to make that energy. But oxygen is a gas. It's O2, two oxygen atoms. Nitric oxide is nitrogen oxygen. It's NO. So it's a double atom gas. So it's right next, nitrogen's right next to oxygen in the periodic table of elements for you chemistry fans. So they're both very similar, but oxygen's more reactive. It has an extra electron. And so oxygen has two electrons that are loose, and that's what our bodies take and pop it off to make energy and make ATP energy, and that runs us. That keeps us alive. Now, nitric oxide is almost the same thing. It's a gas, and it only has one little electron sitting there, so it has some energy. So what your body, but it only lasts, oxygen's pretty stable. It's always around. Nitric oxide, though, is not stable because those little extra electrons are not paired, so they want to go fling around, they blow up. Nitric oxide lasts maybe 2 seconds. So how can something that poof appears, poof disappears help? Because your body has a system that makes nitric oxide when and where needed, and if you don't need it anymore, it just stops. So it goes away. So you can pinpoint your blood flow instantly because the nitric oxide gets into the blood vessels and it has sensors that relax the muscles around the little blood vessels and the big ones too. So that's how our blood flow is controlled. It's with making little poofs of gas when and where needed, microscopic amounts, and it just disappears.
Interesting. And what type of format is it that you take it in?
Well, you can't take nitric oxide because if you make it's very unstable, so
Oh,
it's going to break down
okay.
all
I'm
by
thinking it's
itself. Yeah.
something so how do we get nitric oxide?
Yeah, well, nitrous oxide is in O2. That's stable, and that's the laughing gas Dennis used to use. But this is not the same thing at all. It's that one little atom difference makes all the difference. So how do you do it? Your body's going to make it. So you want your body to make it, and there's two ways to do it. Your body can also make nitric oxide from you're going to love this nitrites and nitrates, which are the
Oh
food
boy.
preservatives we're trying to
Yeah,
get rid of.
yeah, yeah, right.
Um, and that's a whole different system that your body does use to make nitric oxide, but it doesn't have a choice. It can't control it. And I think that's the problem with it. The more nitrates and nitrites you intake, the more nitric oxide you get. And nitric oxide, when it poof disappears, it turns into something called peroxynitrite, which is one of those nasty free radicals you don't want to have. It'll tear up your tissues and age you and turn in other words too much. That's why we're trying to get rid of it out of our foods, because it has
Mm.
that nasty antioxidant form that it goes into. But your nitric oxide you make for your blood vessels is a super teeny amount, and your body's built ways to get rid of all of it without trouble. So it doesn't pickle you. And that's shown by those, guess what, survival curves. More nitric oxide production, you live longer and healthier. So but the nitrates and nitrites, which you get out of, and this is weird, you get it out of mostly vegetables and fruits. You get it out of plant
Okay.
foods. In fact, you can get more nitrates and nitrites from a salad, arugula salad, than you can with, like about 20 pounds of cured meat, for example, or preserved meat. So wait a minute, what's going on here? Well, your body knows that we've grown up in plant foods. We have a lot of nitrates and nitrites. So our bodies use it makes nitric oxide from the nitrates and nitrites we get in our good foods and their healthy foods. And I'll say why in a minute. Because it takes care of sterilizing your access to the outside world. So your mouth, your nose, your digestive system into the stomach. By the time you have stomach acid, you're hopefully sterilizing everything so you can then digest. But between between your mouth and everywhere else in your body, you're open to the world. So
Mm,
our bodies use the nitric oxide from
right.
nitrates and nitrites to sterilize your um, your airways, your digestive system into the stomach, and after that, it's pretty much okay. Now, we also know that nitrates and nitrites form nitrosamines with stomach acid, and that is a risk
Mm,
factor for cancer. And the regulatory groups that talk about cancer causing things, what to do about it, are in a conundrum because they really can't ban nitrates and nitrites. It's too makes too much food last long enough to keep us
hmm
alive, but there is a small risk. So, in other words, I don't want to scare people because and this is why the plant foods loaded with nitrates and nitrites are still good to eat, and you'd want to keep eating them. So you're going to keep your nose and your mouth and your throat cleaned out of bad guys, parasites. They kill the germs that are always coming in. Don't think about it. It's happening, but that's good. Same for the stomach. It'll make sure that if you eat anything and it ends up in the stomach, that it kills most of them there. So it keeps you from dying of bacterial and viral diseases, which we would otherwise be eaten alive by. Because you put a piece of cheese out in the ground somewhere, and it's going to be turned into mold and eaten up by microbes instantly. Well, that's what happened to us if we didn't have the nitrates and nitrites from a good diet helping us out. And that's where beetroots come in, and some of that overload of nitrates and nitrites will help your blood flow all around the body, but it's not controlled. It helps it everywhere so that everything is moving all the time when your body really is trying to keep it very compartmentalized, very focused. Like, okay, you don't need to have your abs contract, blood flow in your abs now. I mean, fine, they have it, but what are you doing with it? So the nitric oxide uh, that your blood vessels make is very specific at very low level. So there's two ways to do that. So, but here's the clincher, the fun part. All right, it's like this is all scary. Yeah, what heck is going on? What else do your plant foods have that you don't get out of meat, basically? And that's something called polyphenols.
mm,
All those
right.
bitter things, all those good things that are turned into supplements individually, curcumin and all kinds of bioflavonoids, et cetera, et cetera. They are good antioxidants and they're also good anti-inflammatories, which means they will keep the nitrates and nitrites in a healthy diet under control so that it prevents them from getting out of control, making so much nitric oxide you're dissolving yourself. So, but if you just take the nitrates and nitrites by themselves, like in a meat or hot dogs, whatever, then you don't have. If you eat a poor plant food diet, low plant food diet, you don't get all those polyphenols that are found in plants, not animal foods to any extent, so that you get the problems because nitric oxide will become toxic if you don't have the polyphenols to keep it under control throughout the body. So that's kind of the
Interesting.
neat thing. So our bodies have a little enzyme called enos. We'll just skip all the blah blah, and that's what gets that's what grabs the arginine in your blood and poof turns into nitric oxide right there in the blood vessel. Now it's on the inside of your blood vessel. So if you're getting you thrashed your arteries and arterioles, then that enos enzyme has trouble working. So that's why nitric oxide production goes downhill with aging because your blood vessels are aging on the outside, which means plaque,
Interesting.
etc. So you can see how this is fitting together now.
Totally.
And that's why that poor guy that I saw as a kid had a heart attack because when your blood vessel out the coating of your blood vessels if it's all thrashed and it's being totally inflamed and is trying to wall off the inflammation, it's going to wall off until it makes a clot. And that's what's going on. So, but eating plant foods is good. Don't stop. In fact, that's better because then you have less immune system problems with your stomach and GI
Yep.
tract and lungs and nose and sinuses. So that's so in other words, our bodies are using toxic substances to as like an army will to keep bad things away. It kills things. Now your immune system does the exact same thing. When your immune system sees an infection and it has to kill viruses, it kills bacteria, kills whatever, kills yourself even, it will make, guess what? Nitric oxide
Oxide.
in huge quantities right there at the moment. So, and that's called INOS, inducible nitric oxide. So all the machinery's there and the immune cells just waiting to pounce and go, look, there's the bad guy, kill it with nitric oxide. Boom, 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 boom. So then now this relates to pus. So if you have an infection, you're killing everything and you get pus and all that stuff. Pus is all the stuff that nitric oxide is killing. It's including you too, in a small amount. So in other words, you want to keep your immune system from having to take care of all the bad guys. And that's where the polyphenols come in. They can protect your cells in your body from too much nitric oxide. So nitric oxide is just like oxygen. We can't breathe 100% oxygen because it will kill you. We can't have a whole bunch of nitric oxide because it'll kill us. So we have ways to make it cooperate, and the best way is exactly what you're professing to do and telling people to do. Eat healthy, eat clean. We don't really need nitrates and nitrites in our
Right.
foods because we do have them in our foods. And when we eat the right foods, like plant-based things, you're talking your
Mhm.
vegetables and fruits, they are balanced with those polyphenols. And polyphenols are now all over the place in the supplement world. So that, but eating is the best way, of course, because you get a lot and enough, and it's cheaper. That's important too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's the number one way to eat, and not everybody does, but the polyphenols is what Juvenon produces, correct?
We have polyphenols with the form of arginine that sticks to that enzyme on the blood vessels. Because you have plenty of arginine in your blood all the time, and it has to go through a little pathway to get that arginine into the enzyme to make nitric oxide, because that arginine has something that with oxygen will turn into nitric oxide by the enzyme. So the polyphenols will keep the enzyme in good shape because look what it's doing. It's like you're a fireman. You're going to be fighting the fire, and you're the first one to get burned. So those enzymes are having to be made and remade constantly because they're being torched by what they're doing. So
So,
that it's a nice little system, though.
does somebody
Mhm.
can I mean the do you recommend everybody take these, or is this something that it depends on how, your
Yeah.
health is? That and
Yes.
supplements can be so overbearing. They're overbearing to me, and I just started
Okay.
taking some myself, but I'm curious about this one.
Mm.
And by the way, as healthy as I am, uh, we have some heart disease in the family, including my father and all of his siblings. And three of us out of five of us have some calcium in our
Ah,
calcium, and that they want to put me on statins.
yeah.
I'm not going on a statin. I refuse to. So now I'm like
Mm.
all into supplements. So now I'm very curious about this as
Yeah.
well.
Oh boy, we could go on for hours and hours,
I know we could. I know, and
but
I know our liver has a lot to do with it too. And
yeah. Yeah, everything's connected, of course. Just like
totally.
your city with the traffic and traffic lights
Yep.
and wrecks in the
Yep.
way. That's why I kind of use the traffic analogy for blood flow because you got to keep it moving. If there's no
Right.
traffic,
Absolutely.
the city dies. Everybody dies. So you got to keep it moving. Body has ways to make it cooperate, but really you got to start with the diet. Yeah, and if you eat a lot of plant-based foods,
And I do. I'm
that
like a
helps.
model there.
And
That's
that
the easiest thing for me.
Yeah. that helps.
And all
And that's why.
organic, and I'm all
Oh,
raw, mostly all raw.
oh,
So
good. Yeah, I mean, we've some years ago, my wife and I just switched to eating salads for dinner instead of whatever your square four is. And yeah, we're still going along fine. I mean, I'm still working and I'm old, so,
I know I'm
so
63, but I was like, what I was so like, what? I have some
mm,
blockage in my or calcium buildup, I guess is what you call it.
yeah.
And I'm still like, I,
Mhm.
everyone's like, wow, you have it. I'm like, but hereditary. I've
Yeah.
had a lot of stress over the years. There's a lot of things, I need to get a little bit more
Hmm.
sleep. So I exercise every day, and I eat well, but those, everything goes into it. But now I'm at the point where I'm glad I'm talking to you that I feel like I need something to help my
Yeah.
blood flow.
Yeah. There's a form of arginine that is sticky to the enzyme, and it's called nitrosogene, and many companies have it. So look for nitrosogene, nitrosigine. That's the key type of arginine that goes directly to nitric oxide. They've done a nice number of human clinical studies to show that it can improve your nitric oxide level, and it'll let after one dose, it's good for 6 hours to boost nitric oxide when and where needed. Now, if you just sit in the couch and watch the boob tube, you're not going to make nitric oxide. So
Right.
it's useless. So it does help with exercise performance. It does help, especially with mental cognition and mental performance, because your brain needs blood flow, and your brain gets 25% of your blood flow every heartbeat at least.
Mm-hmm.
So it needs it uses nitric oxide to stay smart, to stay snappy, to stay with it. And that is shown by the human clinical studies. Um, and at Juvenon, we and other companies add polyphenols to the mix so we can have something different from everybody else and say it's better, that kind of nonsense. But it works. These polyphenols themselves help keep your nitric oxide going strong. So you can take just polyphenols, which is a healthy diet, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why you're on the good curve that keeps your nitric oxide production going over a lifetime. So but these nitrosogene based things, you have to get arginine to make nitric oxide. That's what the enzymes use. And that also helps your immune system use it
Mm.
when and where it wants without overdoing it, without the risk of the stomach cancer from just oral nitrates and nitrites. And the nice thing about beetroots and other nitrate-rich plant foods is that the polyphenols will help prevent the cancer from forming in your stomach. So, it's one step forward, one step back in that respect, but that's still not going the wrong way. So, in other words, it's a happy ending, is what I'm trying to get at. Just eat
Right.
as much plant foods as you can, as clean as you can too. Um, and if you are, and the older you get, you do have less blood flow. So if you want to get back to where you were a few years ago, 10, 20 years sometimes, then you can boost it just enough with nitrosogene, and that's found in a lot of products. So I don't want to be an ad just for our
I
company,
know.
but
Yeah.
I do want to be an ad for nitrosogene itself, because whoever the company that thought that up, and the scientists behind that were really thinking hard, and they came up with something that fits our body just right. They figured it out. It's complicated, as I think people can realize now, but body knows what to do. You just give it what it needs, and it works out. That's
Right.
the good news. That's the happy ending, and all that. So so I take more blood flow things, and like I said, I don't take the multivitamin mineral anymore. I'm eating well enough, and I take the big three. And I also take CoQ, coenzyme Q10, because I've been doing that since 1985, because it helps your mitochondria, that's energy, metabolism. And if it makes everything they give it to during their lifetimes make them live longer, um, we're still waiting to see if it does that in people, but I'm not waiting. I'm the guinea pig.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I know. I
and
feel
I,
like I'm a guinea pig right now too because I'm okay with it though.
Yeah. So in other words, I could go on and on, but what I wanted to tell people is that blood flow is super important. If you have less blood flow,
Yes.
everything goes downhill. Your brain, first of all, your physical
Hmm.
capacity, so you can't exercise, which means everything just slowly falls apart. And what that does is it makes your joints bad, and it also makes your liver have a harder time getting rid of, guess what, toxins and things that it
Hmm.
normally does. So that's
Right.
fits into your listening, people. So blood flow is king. If you have to have it, you can keep it better than it has been with nitrosogene and eating a plant-based diet. So that's the bottom
The
line today.
bottom line today, the lesson everybody needs to learn with everything that Dr. Luke has shared is eat a healthy diet, obviously, and a lot of plant-based, plant and avoid as many processed foods as you possibly can. Exercise, right?
Yeah, I
Helps
ran
with
out
the
of time,
blood
but
flow,
yes, it is. Yeah, you have to have blood flow to exercise. Yes, keep
right?
exercising any which way you can. Doesn't matter which one, just do it.
Just do it. And then your top three were magnesium, omega, and D3,
Yeah, omega-3s, which
omega
is
3s,
usually fish oil, but
right?
fish oil gets nasty real quick
Yeah, it
because
does.
it doesn't have any polyphenols. Krill oil has well, it's technically not a polyphenol, but it's an antioxidant that makes it red, and that keeps it super stable. And it's the exact same molecule in your cell membranes that are what omega-3s only, that's the only thing they do in the body. You don't store omega-3s. You don't burn them for energy. You just get rid of them because they are magnets for free radicals with all those double bonds in them. That's what makes them liquid. So your body puts them into phospholipids in your cell membrane, and it pops off that omega-3 with an enzyme to give a signal. And that's what we call our prostaglandins or eicosanoids, those big words. But they are controlling cell activity, they control your immune system, and they do everything that the cells and the tissues and the organs want to do. So if you have good, healthy cell membranes with phospholipids rich in omega-3s, that's what you want. And krill oil is 50% exactly the same phospholipid. So you don't even, it's no digestion. It goes boom, two steps. One of them is swallowing, others getting into the bloodstream. It just poof goes right into your cells. It's like the universal solvent. It'll go right into your cells where it's happy, and you get better results. With omega-3 fish oil, there's 25 metabolic steps before it becomes that phospholipid. In the meantime, you're tearing up all these fats that are releasing free radicals. So if you overdo omega-3s, they are toxic.
Interesting.
And the early omega-3 researchers, after they realized Eskimos had better heart health than the Danes and Danish people, because this was in Greenland, they tell us, let's pump our little lab animals full of omega-3s, and they died of cardiovascular disease in a heartbeat. Ha, heartbeat. Yep.
Ha ha.
So everybody said, "Oh, omega-3s, poo, and we're going to use drugs like lowering. It's the cholesterol. That's the problem." No, but so omega-3s languished for a long time until that scientist that discovered that link finally convinced people that, hey, these omega-3s are healthy. Just don't eat a whole bunch of them. The Eskimos can eat tons of it because they're genetic differences. I don't want to say mutants, but they are variants.
Right.
They can handle a lot of omega-3 and not have it pickle them. Most of the rest of us cannot. But we need enough, and the best way, safest way, and easiest way, one small pill, no burp back, no stomach issues. You're not burping up dead cod, is krill oil. So um, we don't sell krill oil at Juvenon, so it's not an advertisement. It's a recommendation.
What? How do you spell that?
KRILL.
Krill. I've never heard of that.
Hmm. Yeah, it's the I think it's the only way to take omega-3s. I just could not stomach literally omega-3s. Um, and of course, you can eat fish that are high in omega-3s, mostly salmon, herring, sardines. A lot of fish, like catfish, have virtually none.
Well, good. We eat
Oof.
salmon about twice a week, so that's good
Yeah,
to know.
yeah. So. Oh, wild caught. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh definitely. Oh my gosh, never buy farm raised for sure. That could be a whole subject in itself. Okay,
Mm,
so the website that they can find out some more information on is Juvenon, Juvenon, for everybody to look it up, but it'll be in the
mhm.
show notes. Anything else you want to touch on here, or did we cover so much that people are spinning their heads?
I'm a head spinner for sure,
I
so
love it.
I
I
don't
love
want to
it. You're
go.
the why guy.
I have the answers. So, but I just really want to emphasize though, really, it does boil down to moving, which is exercise, moving
Mm,
and eating right. If you do that, then that you're taking care of the biggies. But what you do with the other things that are hidden in our food and air
mm,
and water, that can chip away at you too. But if you
right,
can keep yourself, in other words, which curve do you want to be on is the bottom line. Do you want to be
right.
on the healthy person curve where you still have living people out to the end of when they measured, which was 80, and it's still like 20% of your nitric oxide versus virtually zero, and the very few people, that's what you don't get from the curves unless you understand them, that the very few people left over that were not healthy are barely making it, barely
Hmm.
making any nitric oxide. So what kind of life is that? They're just sitting
Yeah,
there waiting to die. They probably have dementia, and well, I just don't want to paint a gloomy picture, but it will be gloomy if you don't make sure you're doing things for your nitric oxide and exercise and eating right, plant food based. That's the best way. Supplements will help, and but that's up to each individual. So yeah, that's real simple now. It really
it
is
is.
simple.
It is. And the nice thing is my audience is really, 50 plus, mainly women that want to live long, live well, age well,
Hmm.
and longevity means something to them. So all of your information is amazing. And blood flow is very important. And I know that myself, and I'm looking into this even further. So thank you. I really appreciate you and all coming on and sharing your wisdom, knowledge, experience, and your history. I love that growing up in your household and being the one that questioned. And that's important for all of us to know as well. So thank you. And I look forward to catching up down the road, Dr. Bucci, because I would love to hear more from you. And, I thank you again and thank you for everything that you're doing.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and I really hope people will have fun listening to this and learning all about themselves, because self-knowledge is self-help.
That's right. We have to take our health into our own hands. Is there anywhere that people can find you? I know you do a lot of other podcasts and things, but is there,
Yeah.
besides Juvenon, is there do you have a blog? Do you have any social media presence or something like that?
Not really. I try to stay away from the limelight because I'd be sucked in, and then I couldn't ask why anymore.
I love it.
I
Well, you
hate to
shared
say.
you shared your whys with me today, your answers to all the whys, and that's what matters the most, and that I can share it across the universe so people can learn more from you. So thank you for sharing your whys with us.
My pleasure, and be glad to do it again.
Okay, thank you.